even like you were saying, God uses people to highlight things that you can work on with him. And when you know that your friend is for you, when they say something, even if they don't say it perfectly, like, you know, they're for you.
Hey, beautiful people, and welcome back to another segment of Soul Talk by Mdrn Woman. I'm your host, Alicia Nicole. I am the founder of Mdrn Woman, and Soul Talk is all about creating a space where women can share stories that really bring solidarity, where you know, I'm not alone on this journey. We share our triumphs, we share our joys, we share our challenges, things about our lives that have made us who we are and helped us to succeed, so that hopefully in listening to these stories, you too find a place of camaraderie and solidarity, knowing I'm in this with other people who are living it and rocking it just like I am. I love that stories do that. They create a sense of unity. Even if we are all over the world listening to these podcast episodes, we can know, hey, we're in this together, and I'm walking life out the way I want to live it, in the way that's pleasing to God and also amazing with other like-minded individuals. All right, so let's get to it. This is the last segment of the very first episode, the power of your life's story. And I really love this segment because Cara and I get into the heart of our friendship when we were both becoming friends at a time that was very transitional for each of us, and just sharing how the power of each of our individual stories lent support and clarity and vision and direction in different ways for each of us. So let's tune in.
It was really the Lord giving me perspective on how he sees me. And I think that's a part of the story too, is that, you know, your story includes people. It includes God. And a lot of the value that comes in our story is sharing it with people, like living life with people, and then being willing to open up and share where we've been to help pull somebody up. Does that make sense? Do you have any thoughts on that? I know I just talked for a long time.
No, I love what you're saying. And I think it's true that, well, two things. One, that the person you end up with will see the value in the things that they're supposed to see the value in, right? Also, just the idea that the Lord doesn't highlight things to call us out. And so I, you know, thinking back to the history of our relationship, I was just thinking, man, everybody needs an Alicia. Everybody needs a friend who is genuinely for you and godly, because even like you were saying, God uses people to highlight things that you can work on with him. And when you know that your friend is for you, when they say something, even if they don't say it perfectly, like, you know, they're for you. Like, they're not telling you that because they're trying to cut you down or, and so I think that was really insightful. So.
Thank you. I feel like everybody needs a Cara. And, like, I think our story is really special to me because, and I've been alluding to it, so now I'm going to talk about it. Stories give life to others, and like walking out your life with people of a like mind who really are for you. And by like mind, I mean like like-minded and wanting to go somewhere and grow somewhere, like-minded in walking with God and that kind of thing. If there is someone who was like-minded with me and like just wallowing in misery, then that's not the kind of, even though you may have friends who have rough spaces like that, those aren't the people I'm going to typically lean on. If they have in an area, if they're weak where I'm weak, we'll be there for each other, but I'm not going to lean on that person to help me walk out of that situation. Like if I have a friend, Katrina, she loves exercising, loves it. And I hated it. I hated it. And we are housemates now. And so I lean on Katrina to help me with physical fitness. And now she's like, when I didn't want to exercise, she would remind me. She was always gracious, always encouraging me, checks me when I'm like, thinking the wrong way about my physical image. And now, like for a week almost, I exercise without her. I'm completely independent. I can come up with my own exercises and find what I'm going to do because Katrina was there for me. And it was strong where I was very weak. So I felt like in that period of life, like I was in a space where when I think maybe 2 or 3 years into our friendship, where I had, followed the spiritual leader and they got into some stuff that really wasn't of the Lord. And at one point, I kind of woke up out of it and was like, oh my God, I'm stuck. And I remember praying, God, I don't know what to do, because I repent of idolatry, because I know that you'll forgive me, but I don't know what this person's going to do if I were to tell them what I'm thinking and feeling, and that I don't want them to be a part of my life anymore. And it was crazy because I did have options. I had parents that I could go to. I could have come to you, and I felt like, I was so trapped that I couldn't see a way out, but the Lord definitely had a way out. And I think maybe like 2 years, a year and a half to 2 years after that, I moved back to Georgia. The Lord said, it's time to go home. He opened up an amazing job opportunity and sent me back to Georgia. But before that, I remember going to your apartment. I would come to your apartment all the time, and I would nap. You would be like, well, I've got to work, but you can just hang out. And you would cook for me. Sometimes it would be breakfast. Sometimes it would be lunch. Sometimes it would be breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And I loved it. I loved you being there.
And I was like, I'm just here doing nothing. And I felt like I was mooching sometimes, but you were like, oh, this is great. But I mean, I think that's the point. Like, you were just being you, living your life, and being a friend and living Cara, like wherever you were in the moment, meant everything for me, because you loved me being there. But what happened was, for me, I would be like, man, I want an apartment like Cara's. I like Cara's house. I like Cara's car. I like how Cara is industrious. I like how Cara does this. And I was able to, I didn't know where I was going in my life. I felt stuck and I couldn't see where to go. But being around you, I got a vision for where to go. And so I remember I would start praying. I wasn't even praying. I'd be like, I want an apartment with gray walls too. I want an apartment that has these kinds of appliances and this kind of floor too. And I would start seeing it and saying it over and over again. And I was like, Cara has a job that she loves. And I would be like, man, I want a job that I love too. What kind of job would I love? I want a job where I can work in the kingdom and serve the kingdom, but I don't want to work in a church. And I want to use my degree, which is Spanish. And so watching you live your life, I started to get a vision of the life that I wanted. And do you know that about a year and a half after all of that, I ended up in an apartment that looked exactly how I thought, not exactly like yours, but exactly what I kept dreaming. And I ended up in a job where I served churches and getting their nonprofit status using my degree. And so that is like this, it was a supernatural experience with the Lord one day when he's like, go, it's time to go home. And then I couldn't even look for jobs in South Carolina anymore. I only had a piece about looking at jobs in Georgia, and the only job that got back to me was the job that I'm working right now still, in the same company rather. And so I think that our friendship for me is a testimony of what this is about. You have a story, Cara Cheatham, that you lived a journey in life, and as you were going through your journey, you were a friend to me, and you just let me be a part of your story. And it happened to be at a moment where the Lord's like, Alicia's got to get here, but she can't see how to get there yet. So I'm going to connect her with Cara, and her being friends with Cara's going to be a bridge to get Alicia to the next space in her life. And that was wonderful. Like, did you know that was going on?
I had no idea. And I was so sad when I learned later how just horrible that situation was with that leader in your life. I had no idea. And I wish I had known, I wish I had recognized that was not healthy for you. I had no idea though. But I never saw you that way. That's what's so, I didn't see you as this broken person who was in this horrible situation. Like you're talking about me, like helping be a bridge for you. I felt like you were a bridge for me because it was like redemption of friendships, and me coming out of a season of being kind of lonely, turning back to the Lord and being like, wow, I can't really go and hang out with the same crowd that that's not to say I didn't meet great people in college. I did. I'm still connected to some of them, but just wanting to run after the Lord and not having that community around me immediately. And Lord bringing you into my life. And that's how I saw you. I didn't see you as this this work in progress. I saw you as somebody who I admired, just your gift of worship and your sincerity and just your pursuit of the Lord. I felt like you had it together in a place where I was lacking, And so we were really truly modeling for each other areas that we each needed to grow in. So,
Wow.
yeah. Thank you, Lord.
Man, like I didn't even know this is such a revelatory conversation. Yeah, I think that I wish I had talked about it, but when you're in, which that comes into like a whole other situation of dealing with and even knowing when you're in situations of psychological abuse, like, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, and it took me a long, long time to even realize that was what was going on. I plan to have that conversation with some friend. Well, I have a friend who's studied like counseling and psychology, and a couple other people that I kind of want to. Oh gosh, it got super dark. Oh well. That I want to have that conversation with, but and I think I did a video called "Why Modern Woman" and like kind of shared the story a little bit of how that whole situation and how it kind of like really damaged my perception of who I was, and I've been kind of in this rebuilding process. That's not all of who I am, and that's not all of my story, but it is what I feel like the coming out of that part of my reward is doing this and being empowered enough to share and create a space where women can share their stories like this and build one another up. And so without even realizing it, this conversation has really proved the point. Is that when we love our lives and live it and honor where we've been, you really never know like who you're helping and what your relationship and you just being you, living your life does for other people. Like, I mean, who would have known? And you were from Maryland and I was from Georgia, like country. I mean, not the countryest you could be, but I'm definitely a Southerner. Like,
Yeah. I'm a Yankee through and through. I've had to accept that I'm a Yankee, but I am.
yep, you certainly are. Like, yeah, but we were still able to be great friends. Like, I remember even despairing that I was still single in my 20s because being from the South, I was like, I was certain that I was going to meet and marry my husband in college. Now, who I thought I was going to meet or marry, I don't know.
I was going to marry some people in college, and I'm glad I didn't marry those people.
Yes.
Because in
Yeah.
college, I was not where you were at in college.
Nope. And I had, we had our group of friends and they were brothers. Like that was, that's what that was. And I knew actually for a long time I would only date one person and be with one person ever. And I was just certain because I had never dated that the Lord was just going to like send them on. But God's time frame was not mine. And I was so despairing. And you were like, Alicia, I have so many friends who don't get married to their mid-30s. Like, it's a common thing where I'm from. And I could not fathom it. Because, and I still actually the only way I can fathom it right now is because it's what I'm living. But until I hit the stage and, was like, oh, I'm like, okay, I'm in my, early mid-30s. Now I'm ready. Like, Cara was right. But growing up in the South, like, you don't see that. You are maybe damaged goods if you are over 30 and unmarried.
So wild. Yeah, I think the national average is in the 30s now. So
yeah. Well, we're good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this has been so, so wonderful. Thank you so much for being my very, very first person. And I'm glad that people don't know our friendship. We've been friends for a while and we'll be friends forever, literally. But it's just been great. And this has been a wonderful first podcast of ever. Like, this isn't just the first podcast of the year. Hopefully I'll do a whole lot more. And you're my very, very, very first guest. And so I'm so grateful for that. Yay. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And so, Well, so I'm trying to think of how I'm going to do this. Anyway, you can, if you want to get connected with Mdrn Woman, we have a blog, vlogs on YouTube, we're on social media, Facebook and Instagram at mdrnwoman.cc. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, and Mdrn Woman, Mdrn Woman on YouTube. And yeah, the website, I'll have all that stuff in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining Cara and I. Cara, you're amazing. I'm so grateful for you. And I actually was thinking about you the other day, and well, I think about you often, but I was praying and I was like, oh, I just love your voice and I love what you have to share. So don't underestimate the power of what the Lord may be calling you to release and share from your heart at some point. I'm not like prophesying, but I just saw that you have this a powerful voice and a powerful story, and you really have this ability to help like bring clarity and direction to people. And I don't know if you know that. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, I feel the very same way about you, and it's been an honor to be on here. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, I could keep gushing, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and I'll just keep gushing after we finish recording. Love you guys. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll catch you in the next podcast. Bye, everybody.
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful story. I really enjoyed recording this episode because it was eye-opening for me to see what I was from my friend at a time where she was being so supportive of me, and we had and still have a beautiful friendship. I know at some point in this episode I mentioned, you're such a good friend, we connect at least once a year. And there have been a couple years where it's been once a year, but generally speaking, we are touching bases all the time, checking in and seeing how the other is doing. So it's a really beautiful friendship, and I'm so grateful for you, Cara. Thank you so much. So there is so much more coming with Soul Talk. We are coming up on episode 2, so stay tuned for that in February. We're going to be talking about finding identity in love. I'm totally curious to know what you think of when you hear that phrase. When the podcast is out and you hear what we're sharing, by all means, please connect and share your thoughts. Come on. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at mdrnwoman.cc. Of course, Mdrn is spelled Mdrn. So that's the @ symbol, mdrnwoman.cc. Also on the website, www.mdrnwoman.cc. We have a sampling of our blogs and podcasts and videos and lots of good stuff coming your way. As well, you can follow me on YouTube. I love YouTube. I post all of my videos, and also this podcast has a video version that you can check out on YouTube if you want to see the conversation. You can check it out there. And you can just follow the channel at Mdrn Woman and be sure to subscribe and be sure to click that notification bell so that you can get notifications when new podcasts come out. It's going to be great. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I am loving the community that we're building with Mdrn Woman and loving the community that we're building with Soul Talk. And I will see you in episode 2.